Hi guys, it's Katie here from Creativa, and I thought I'd do a video today to show you how to upload the SVG files for the Broderie Mini Album to your cutting machine software, and also how I use or create projects using those files to make it easier to use them. So I only use a Cricut. Unfortunately, I don't have any other kind of cutting machine, although SVG files can be used on other machines like the Brothers Scan and Cut and the Silhouette Cameo. So I can't show you how to upload or manipulate the SVG files in any other software, but I'm hoping that you would be able to apply the same kinds of principles in the other cutting machine software so that you can manipulate and use the SVG files. If you're interested, the Broderie Mini Album SVG files are available in my Etsy store, and I'll put the link in the description box below. So when I purchase SVG files or any kinds of files from Etsy, they usually come as an instant digital download to my download folder. So I'm just going to go down to my download folder here, and as you can see, I've already downloaded this file called Broderie SVG Mini Album.zip to my computer, and it's currently a zipped file. So the first thing we need to do is unzip that file. So I'll just double click on it, and it opens the file up so much so that I can see what's in there, but I still need to extract it. So what you should receive are two folders inside that main folder, and then an SVG Mini Album Guide, which is a PDF file. That contains some information for you on how to use the SVG files, and also has some screenshots of all the SVG files so that you can refer back to it. So I highly recommend printing that file out and keeping it on hand so you can refer to it while you're working with those SVG files. Anyway, we need to unzip this folder, so I'm just going to click Extract All, and it's selected a destination file which is still in my downloads, and I've said show the extracted files when complete, and then I'm just going to click on Extract and wait for it to do its thing. So it's now opened up this folder in my downloads folder called Broderie SVG Mini Album, and there's those two folders and the PDF there. So if I click on this one here, the first one, Elements, there's 15 files in there, and all of those 15 files are the main pieces of the Broderie SVG Mini Album. Then if I go back up to Broderie SVG Mini Album and click on the next one, it has 15 files that are almost exactly the same, except that they say mats at the end, and they are the mats that match all of those main pieces. So now that we've unzipped it, we can go back to our Cricut Design Space, and if we click on Upload and click on Upload Image and then click on Browse, we need to navigate our way back to the Downloads folder and to the unzipped folder that contains all of those files, and open that one. And then for every single one of these, so that for all 15 of these files and all 15 of the files in the Elements folder, we need to upload them to the Cricut Design Space. So I'm going to click on the first one here, A, Cover and Spine, and click Open. And it will pull into the Cricut Design Space, and this is the file here. So it's just a square and a rectangle, and it's already given it a name, A, Cover and Spine, and so then I can just click Save. And I'm going to do that for all of the files except for that PDF. So click Upload Image, click Browse, and then I'll select the next one down, B, Binding, and click Open, and it'll drop it in there. It says B Binding, and I'll click Save. So I'm going to do that for all of the files in the Elements folder here, so there's 15 of those. Oops, I'm in the wrong folder. Just let me go back up the ways because it's come up in the zipped folder here, so we'll just go back to downloads in this app one here. My computer's a little slow, I'm sorry. So there's for all of the 15 files in this Elements folder and all of the 15 files in the Mats folder, I'm going to upload to my Cricut Design Space in the way that we did before. So to save a bit of time, I've already done that. So if I click on View All here and the recently uploaded images, we will be able to see all of the files that I have already uploaded. So there'll be 30 in all, 15 of the Elements and 15 of the Mats. The Mats are in the pink and the Elements are in the blue, so if I just scroll down, you can see that I have all of those blue ones down here as well. So I wanted to show you how I manipulate these folders or these files to make it easier for me to work with. So the first thing I would do is select all 15 of the blue elements. So I'm just going to go through and make sure that I've got all of those. This is a little time consuming, but once you've done this once you won't need to do it again because we will save it as a project and it will always be there for us. So I'm going to make sure I've got 15 down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15. Okay, and then I'm going to click Insert. So it's going to take a little time to crunch along while it tries to put all of those files in there. You can see that they're coming up in this Layers panel on the right hand side. It takes a little bit longer for them to turn up on my actual Design Space canvas. Now it's taking longer because I'm running recording software in the background, but it normally doesn't take this long for everything to load up. So I'm going to reduce the size down here on the left hand side so that I can manipulate these on my screen a little bit better. So I'm going to put it right down to 25% if I can. There we go. And there we go, there's all those files there. Now when they come down into the Cricut Design Space, you might have noticed before, they all just sit on top of each other. So the first thing I do is rearrange everything on my canvas so that they are separated out so I can see everything. And because I've got so many folders is the reason why I have reduced the canvas size. Oops. I bring all of these. Oops. Come here. It's a bit slow. Let's go over to this one for a minute. So I'm going to spread all of these out on my canvas, and this is just going to take me a little bit of time to do this. I can see it's really struggling with all the tabs I've got open across the top, plus the recording software in the background, and the fact that I've just put 15 SVG files all in here at once. So what I will do is spread all of these out so that I can see each file as a distinctive, separate file, little image. And when we've done that, we need to, oh dear, come back over here. Once we've done that, we need to change some of the folders, some of the lines in the actual elements themselves, because right now they come up as cut lines, and we need to change some of those to score lines. So we have 4 inserts files which we've put in here, and there's 3 of those there, and then the other one's down here. Now these don't have any score lines on them, so we don't need to actually do anything with those 4 files, so that's a good start. Just about every other file does need to have a little bit of something done to it though. If we could get them to move, there's one of our pockets folders. Let's start doing some of the things that I want to show you, because this is going to take some time. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just make this a little bit larger so I can explain to you what we need to do. So this file here is grouped together, and it's called H doors. If you have a look over here at the layers panel on the right, the first thing we need to do is ungroup all of those so that we can manipulate each door separately. And then if I click on this one here, which is the little fancy door with the cutouts like a French door, and if we go over to the layers panel on the right hand side, you can see here that it has a line that says cut, but that needs to be a score line, because if we leave it like that, it will actually cut this tab off here on the left hand side. But we only want Cricut to put a score mark there. So I'm going to click on that cut line over in the layers panel on the right. Then I'm going to go up the top here to line type and click on that little arrow and click score. And it will change that line from a solid line to a dotted line, which tells us that it's changed it to a score line. But then we need to attach that score line to the piece, so you can do that by clicking on this piece here that says in the layers panel on the right hand side. If I click on this place here where it says H doors and it's got the little arrow at the side there, that means that that's sort of one piece altogether. And then I go down the bottom and click attach, and that'll attach the score line to that individual little door. So I need to do that for all of the folders that have got pieces in it that have these internal lines. So here's another one. If I go over to layers panel and I click those lines that say cut, and I go back up to line type over here on the left and change it to score, then go back over here to my layers panel, click on that whole little section there with the arrow, and then click attach, and it will attach those score lines to that piece. So I need to go through and change all of those pieces, change all of those cut lines to score lines, and attach it to each of those pieces. I need to do that for all of the files that we've dragged in that have those internal lines. Once I've finished those 3, I'm going to group them back together again, because in my reference book and in the PDF it refers to those all as H pieces, and so I want to make sure that I keep those together so that I remember what they are. So I've put the score lines on all of those and attached them and put them back in a group. I'm going to do that for all of these files here. I'm just going to go back out again so we can see what we need to do. And I apologise that it's taking so long. There's one piece though that I want to show you that's a bit different, and it's the B piece, or the binding piece. So I'm just going to find that one, and then I'm going to drag it out and down here. Oh, that's not it at all. They're the frames. That's another file where we don't need to do anything to it, so that's good news. See if I can find that binding piece in here. I'll just move these all out of the way till I can get to that binding piece, which is going to be down the bottom. This one here is another pockets, so they're going to need those internal lines changed from from cut lines to score lines. I'm just trying to move all these pieces out of the way so I can find the one that I'm looking for. this one here. This is the binding file, the file that has the binding elements in them. I'm just going to bring that down here so I can show you what we need to do with that one. This one is a bit different because it does have internal lines in it, but we want to keep those still as cut lines, but we do still need to attach them. So the first thing I'm going to do is ungroup this file so I can manipulate each of those pieces separately. Now this one here, these here are cut lines, and we want them to stay as cut lines, but what we need to do is actually attach them to that piece. So I've clicked on that piece, and then it highlights it over here on the right hand side in the layers panel, and it's already highlighted the whole section, so it's got those cut lines and also the piece. We just need to click attach. And so now those cut lines will stay attached to that piece. And that's all that we need to do with that one. And then we need to do the same thing we need to change those cut lines to score lines for all the other files that have these internal lines. So that will take me too long to do, so I won't do that now, but I wanted to show you how to do that. Then the next thing that I do, let's assume that they're all laid out nicely on my Cricut Design Space, and you can see them. The next thing I would do is to upload all of the mats, so all of the pink mats. So I would just click on upload, and I would click on view all so I can see them all. And it's really chugging along. So then I would select all 15 of these pink files. So I go through and select all 15 of those, like so. And then I would click insert, and it will bring those all into that file that we've just been working with. Now that's going to take a while. So I've actually already done it on another tab, so let me just go up here to this next tab and I can show you how I've arranged it. So here you can see on this screen I have put all of the mats on top of each one of those pieces that I've come up, that I've brought into the canvas. And I've arranged them all so I can see them all, and I've obviously reduced the size of my canvas so I can see as many of the files as I can. And then I have grouped together the mats and each of the individual pieces. So if we look over here on the layers panel, you'll see that I've got 15 groups running down here. And that's a group that includes the mat and the piece, all split up into this for each of the files. So if we click on this one, this is the cover and spine file. So if I expand that group, you'll see that in that group I have, come on little computer, here we go, A, cover and spine mats, and it's got those two mats there, and then it's got, oops, A, cover and spine, and it's got those two blue pieces there. So I have done that for each of the 15 files. Well, there's 30 files, but I've condensed them to 15 groups so that I have the piece itself, and then I have the mat, and then I've put it into a group. And then I've clicked on save, and I've saved it, and if you can see up the top here, I've named it Broderie All Pieces Standard. So the standard refers to the size. So that's the size that it comes in when I've downloaded it. So what that means is, if I don't make any changes to the size of this, it will make an album with a cover that is 7 inches by 7 inches with a 3-inch spine. But if I wanted to make a bigger album, what I would do is simply open up this project, all my pieces, standard, and I'd click select all, and it would select all of those groups together. and then I just come down here to this arrow and I can drag it in and out to make that whole album bigger or smaller. So it will size up all of those pieces proportionally, so even though they're bigger or smaller, they'll still all fit together. So now I can make it bigger so that I have an 8" by 8" album, or a 9" by 9" album, or a 4" by 4" album. And the important thing to do is when you change the size of it, to click save and then save as, and call it something different, and it might be relevant to the project that you're making, or it might be relevant to the size. So I have already done this before, and I've made a bigger album, and it was a Christmas album, so I called it Broderie All Pieces Christmas. And I know that my Christmas album is bigger, so that, you know, is specific to me, and I would know that. I have also called them things before, like Broderie All Pieces 10". So then I know that I'm making a 10" album. Okay, so then let's not save that at the moment. But the other thing that I want to show you is there's a lot of files in here, and this is a really difficult big canvas to work with, and you wouldn't necessarily want to work with it like this, because it would just take too long to work with. So I'd break this up into smaller projects. So to do that, once I've resized it, I would click save, and I'd say save as, and then I'd say Broderie All Pieces, whatever size it is, and then I might call it cover and spine, and click save. So then when I do that and I click save, I'm not going to do it now because I'll end up with too many on here, then I would delete everything out of here except for the cover and spine. And then I'll save it again, and I'll break it up into different little projects. So let me give you an example. So here's everything in the one file, and I will always keep this file because this is the file that I can use to upsize or downsize to any size that I like. But I don't want to work with it like this. So if I go up here to another tab, I can show you some other ones that I've created. So this one here I've called Broderie Pockets Christmas, as you can see up the top. So I've called it Christmas because I know that I've made a Christmas album that's bigger. It's about 8" by 8", but I know it as my Christmas album. So whenever I want to create an album, I'll think, oh yeah, I like the size of my Christmas album, I'm going to make it that size again. So I've then saved that whole file that had everything in there as Broderie Pockets Christmas. Then I deleted everything out of that file except for my pockets, and I've kept just my 5 pockets files in here. So and you can see down the side that I have got 5 groups, and that represents the 5 files. So then I've done the same thing again. I've saved that whole big file again, and this time I've called it Bits and Pieces, and in here I do have the Bits and Pieces file. I also have the Frames file, and I also have the Accordion Pocket file, but I know that that I've got all of those things in there. And again, I've called it Christmas because it is the same size as everything else in my Christmas album. Then if I go up here to my next tab, I can show you these are all my inserts. So I've saved that whole large file again, and I've called it Inserts, and then I have deleted everything out of that Inserts file except for the inserts. And then again, last of all, I've got this file here which I've called Cover, Binding and Base Page. So here I've saved that whole really large file as cover, base, page and binding, and then I've deleted all of the other folders or files out of there, and I just have the cover and spine, the base page and the binding. So now when I want to make this my Christmas album, if I want to cut all the base pages, then I just open this file, which doesn't take too long to load because it's not too big, and I cut all my base pages. And if I'm only cutting my base pages, then I'll need to hide some of the other groups. So whilst I'm cutting out my base pages, I'll just go over to the layers panel and click hide on that cover and spine group, and I'll click hide on my binding, and I might even click hide if I go over here on my base page mat and just hide that. And then I've got my base page, and I can cut that out as many times as I need to. The same thing is when I'm cutting out my pockets. Where are my pockets? Here. I'll just hide the groups of the pockets that I don't want to cut out, and I'll also just hide the mats of the pieces that are of the piece that if I'm not ready to cut them out, so that it's really nice and easy to work with. So that's how I work with the SVG files, and I'm not suggesting that it is a way that you would definitely want to use, but if you're a bit unsure about how to work with 30 different SVG files, I found that this is a really good way to work with it, and I just wanted to pass that on to you. If you've got a better way, I would absolutely love to hear about it. So put something in the comments down below, because there might be something that I just don't know about, and I'd love to know. So anyway, thanks very much for your time. Again, if you're interested in the files themselves, click on the link in the description box below, which will take you to my Etsy store. Thanks very much for your time, and I hope this has been helpful. I'm sorry if the sound isn't very good, or my computer's being a bit slow today, but you know, you work with what you've got. So anyway, thanks everyone for your time, and bye for now. Bye.